The likelihood of a fight with you and Terence Crawford, it would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We don't talking about yet about the fight. Me and we're gonna know each other, and then we wanna.
The fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford had finally been confirmed, and boxing fans around the world couldn't believe it. After months of speculation, whispers, and behind-the-scenes negotiations, the two legends had agreed to face each other in September 2025. It felt like a dream come true, a clash between two of the greatest fighters in the sport. But things may have changed dramatically after Canelo pulled out of the deal.
Said that he would be willing to pay whatever you want to fight Crawford. Yeah.
If he's willing to pay whatever I want, hands down.
That'll work. Yeah, so if yeah, you're in.
Canelo and Crawford had both attended the prestigious Ring Magazine Awards in London, where talks with Saudi boxing chief Alec took a huge step forward. Alec, who has become one of the most influential figures in boxing, had been pushing hard to make the fight happen. Photos of both fighters posing with him after their meeting set the internet on fire. Fans were full of excitement as reports from reliable sources, including ESPN knockout journalist Julius Julianis, claimed that the deal was done.
Fans, some breaking news. This guy, Julius Julianis, who's an ESPN Knockouts reporter, is reporting that the fight isn't only about to be announced, but the contracts are signed. But
this isn't just any fight, it's a historic event in the making, one that could define an era. Canelo Alvarez, the king of the super middleweight division at 168 pounds, would take on Terence Crawford, the WBA champion at 154 pounds, who was ready to move up 2 weight classes to make the fight happen. It was a risky move for Crawford, but he was willing to take on the challenge head-on. Canelo, who had dominated at 168 pounds, had been hesitant about this fight in the past. He felt he had little to gain and much to lose. After Crawford defeated Edgar Bunga and called him out, Canelo dismissed the idea, saying, "If I beat him, people will just say he's too small." But things had changed. Canelo seemed more open to the idea now, and during the awards weekend, he said, "There's always a chance. We'll see. But there's always a chance. Anything is possible, and I can't
Go down anymore, but like he say, when they ask him for the Germonta fight, they don't want to get credit for that fight. It's the same for me. I don't need to take that fight because everybody's.
Crawford, on the other hand, had been waiting for this moment. At 37 years old, he knew he didn't have much time left in the sport, but he also knew this fight could take his legacy to another level. He had already conquered 4 weight classes, but becoming a 5-weight world champion by beating Canelo Alvarez would be the ultimate achievement. It would be the kind of moment that boxing fans would talk about for generations. The payday for both fighters would be massive. Alshik had promised a deal that would make this one of the most lucrative fights in boxing history. For Crawford, it was a chance to secure his financial future while chasing greatness. For Canelo, it was an opportunity to prove once again why he's considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
Oh, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down.
Just as things seemed to be falling into place, doubts began to creep in. The same issues that had delayed the fight before were back. The biggest concern was still the weight difference. Canelo is a natural super middleweight, strong and powerful at 168 pounds. Crawford, on the other hand, would have to gain 14 pounds to reach that weight. That's a lot for any fighter, and it's not just about adding muscle, it's about maintaining speed, stamina, and strength against a naturally bigger opponent. Canelo's past comments about the fight resurfaced, reminding everyone why this matchup had been so difficult to arrange. He had said before, "I have nothing to gain and everything to lose. He is still small for me." Even now, with the fight seeming confirmed, those doubts hadn't disappeared completely.
Since we're on the same topic, what do we think about this fight with Canelo Crawford at 168?
Him saying it's a fight, he's great.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're both comfortable.
For Crawford, though, this was a challenge he was ready to face. He knew the risks, but he also knew the reward. Beating Canelo Alvarez would make him one of the greatest fighters of all time. It would be a moment that erased any doubts about his greatness. For someone who had already achieved so much, this fight felt like the perfect way to cap off an incredible career. Both fighters had their own motivations. For Canelo, the pool of challengers at 168 pounds was drying up. He had already beaten some of the best fighters in the division, and there weren't many big-name opponents left. A fight with Crawford offered something fresh, something exciting. For Crawford, it was about proving himself against the best, even if it meant stepping into unfamiliar territory.
Based on last fight is a 50-50. So Canelo fights an undisputed champ, up-and-coming former champion, and an up-and-coming undefeated contender. And somehow those three last opponents are somehow compared to Bud's Madrimov fight, making it a 50.
Fans were torn between excitement and nervousness. They wanted to see the fight, but they also knew how fragile these deals could be. The talks had progressed quickly, but that didn't mean everything was set in stone. Alec himself added to the suspense with his cryptic words, "The ring is the Bible of boxing, and we are close to seeing the white smoke on the horizon." 2025 will be a crazy year for boxing, and I mean it. The excitement was real, but so were the challenges both fighters had to overcome. They would have to push past their own doubts and make sacrifices to make this fight a reality. Canelo had to get past the idea that he had more to lose than gain, while Crawford had to push his body to its limits to compete at a higher weight.
Come back down to 47 with him, that's crazy. Why would he? Bud looking to try to make history and get out. Get his big bank and get out. His big bank is who? Canelo. He willing to take that gamble, see if he can beat him. If he beats him, he may go fight better beat this nigga. If he don't beat him, he say, okay, I took it as high as I could go. I'm done.
For now, the fight remains one of the most talked about events in boxing. Riyadh Seasons Turkey Al Sheikh has been at the heart of these negotiations, working tirelessly to bring the fight to life. With Canelo defending his WBC, WBA, and WBO super middleweight titles, Crawford is chasing history. The 37-year-old from Omaha, Nebraska, is stepping up 2 weight divisions in a daring attempt to become a 5-weight world champion, a feat that would further cement his legacy. But the challenge ahead is immense. One fighter who's been vocal about this dream matchup is WBO super lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez. He believes it's disrespectful for someone to call you out.
Disrespectful for Crawford to call you out at 68, say that he can beat you at this weight?
No, you know, everybody wants to fight with me, so it's fine.
That being a biggest fight possible in boxing, is that something you'd actually be interested in?
You know, it's crazy when you about that, because you say, your matchup is coming.
Sharing his thoughts with ES News, Lopez didn't hold back when discussing how he sees the fight playing out. While he acknowledged Crawford's brilliance, Lopez ultimately gave the edge to Canelo, predicting a late stoppage in favor of the Mexican superstar. "It's a big money fight," Lopez said. "Overall, we'll all be winning seeing those two fight. I think it will be great. I think Crawford is going to give Canelo a hard time in the beginning, but once Canelo gets a little bit comfortable in that ring and adapts to Crawford's style, we'll see Canelo finishing him off in the late rounds."
Able to walk through me. Honestly, if anybody could jump up in weight classes and do it, it's Terence Crawford. I don't know nobody who is mentally as strong as Terence Crawford. So,
the prediction reflects what many fans and experts are thinking. Crawford may have the skill and sharpness to trouble Canelo early, but the sheer size and power of the super middleweight king could be too much for him to handle over 12 rounds. Although there hasn't been an official announcement yet, rumors have been swirling that the fight will be held at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The massive 65,000-seat venue seems fitting for a fight of this magnitude. If confirmed, it will be a spectacle unlike any other, with fans from all over the world flocking to see two legends collide under the bright lights of Sin City.
We talk all the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that, Canelo.
As the talk continues to grow, Amir Khan, one of the few fighters to have faced both Canelo and Crawford, weighed in with his thoughts on the matchup. Speaking from experience, Khan highlighted the unique challenges both men will face but admitted that Canelo's size could be the deciding factor. Canelo is a beast, man, Khan said. I fought both of those guys, and I feel that size always wins. There's a reason behind weight divisions. Khan, who suffered a brutal 6th-round knockout against Canelo in 2016, understands better than most just how dangerous it is to step into the ring with someone like Alvarez. While he praised Crawford as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters of his generation, he made it clear that the weight difference cannot be ignored. Terence is special, don't get me wrong, but then he's getting hit by a guy like Canelo, Khan continued. What a fight that would be though. I'll root for my boy Terence and want him to win that fight, but it would be hard.
Everybody keeps bringing up Canelo. I think that's weird, you know, because you'd have to gain like, what, 20 pounds? Yeah. But they say that's the money fight. That's the mega fight. That's the money fight. That's the only thing that makes sense for Terence Crawford.
Well, you know, I mean, catch weight. Can do something at a catch weight.
Khan also questioned whether Crawford really needed to take such a risky fight at this stage of his career. Does he need that fight? No, I don't think he does. He's done so well in his career and beaten everyone. He's untouchable, one of the best out there pound for pound. But if it's a big payday, I get why it would be made. Why take a risky fight for less money when he can take a seriously hard fight for serious money? Despite his concerns, Khan didn't shy away from praising Crawford's skill and tenacity. He acknowledged that Bud has the ability to compete at the highest level but warned of the dangers that come with stepping up against a bigger, stronger opponent. We never want to see fighters get hurt, Khan said. The fight presents a unique challenge for both men. For Crawford, moving up to 168 pounds is uncharted territory. While he's conquered 4 divisions in his career, he's never faced someone with Canelo's combination of size, power, and experience.
Work and good head movement at times, but I'm a different fighter. You know, I'm a different type of animal, so.
For Canelo, the challenge lies in facing a fighter as technically brilliant and adaptable as Crawford. Though he's faced elite competition before, Crawford's slick, crafty style presents a puzzle that could be difficult to solve. Fans are torn between excitement and concern. On one hand, the fight is a dream come true, 2 of the best fighters of their generation sharing the ring in a bout that will define their legacies. On the other hand, there's the worry that Crawford may be biting off more than he can chew. Canelo has spent years dominating bigger, stronger men, while Crawford will be entering the ring as the smaller fighter for the first time in his career. Terence "Bud" Crawford is on the brink of stepping into one of the most ambitious fights in modern boxing history, a showdown against the reigning super middleweight king, Canelo Alvarez. For Crawford, this is more than just a title fight, it's a chance to cement his legacy as one of the greatest fighters of all time. But can he overcome the size, power, and experience of Alvarez? Many believe the blueprint for his success lies in Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s dominant 2013 victory over Canelo. However, replicating that performance is far easier said than done, and the circumstances have changed drastically since then.
I think Canelo's gonna put the beats on him like Dr. Dre.
Do we get a knockdown from Canelo, or does Bud knock down Canelo?
Nah, Canelo's not going down. You could hit Canelo with a Louisville slugger. He's just gonna smile at you.
They ain't say gonna beat him like the beats of Dr. Dre.
Yeah, he's gonna put the beats on him like Dre.
In 2013, a younger, less experienced Canelo Alvarez suffered the first loss of his career to Floyd Mayweather Jr., the pound-for-pound king at the time. Mayweather put on a defensive masterclass, utilizing his superior ring IQ, pinpoint accuracy, and unmatched footwork to nullify Canelo's offensive arsenal. It was a performance that remains one of Mayweather's most iconic victories. Fast forward to 2025, and that version of Canelo is long gone. Today, Alvarez is bigger, stronger, and more refined as a fighter. He has amassed a wealth of experience, conquering multiple weight divisions and taking on some of the best in the sport. If the 2013 Mayweather were to face this version of Canelo, even he might struggle to withstand the Mexican star's increased power and ring maturity. Crawford, while a masterful boxer in his own right, faces a monumental challenge in attempting to emulate Mayweather's success.
Look at the champion, y'all. He running all the way from his mama house to home. Dedication.
One of the biggest concerns surrounding Crawford's quest to fight Canelo is his lack of experience at super middleweight. Unlike most fighters who test the waters in a new weight class with a tune-up fight, Crawford is diving headfirst into the deep end against one of the hardest-hitting and most physically dominant fighters in the sport. While this approach might seem bold, it also carries significant risks. Crawford's debut at junior middleweight last August against Israel Madrero was far from convincing. The move up in weight, coupled with his age, soon to be 38, appeared to take a toll on his performance. He looked slower, less explosive, and not as sharp as the Crawford who dominated at lightweight, welterweight, and light welterweight. Against a seasoned and powerful super middleweight like Canelo, these vulnerabilities could spell disaster. Commentator AOL Adipo captured the sentiment perfectly in his analysis on DAZN Boxing, stating, "If Terence Crawford is going to have a fight again, and I look at the options on the table, there's no one at 154 that he wants to fight. There isn't." Crawford seems laser-focused on Canelo, bypassing opportunities to gain valuable experience against other top contenders at 154 or 168 pounds. While names like Sebastian Fundora, Virgil Ortiz, or Serhii Bohacek might not have the same allure as Canelo, they could have provided Crawford with the chance to acclimate to the new weight class and iron out any kinks in his game. For Crawford, this fight is about legacy. With an undefeated record of 41-0 and world titles in 4 different weight classes, he has already secured his place among boxing's elite. But to challenge Canelo Alvarez, who boasts an astonishing 2nd of February 59 record for the WBC, WBA, and WBO super middleweight titles, is a risk unlike any other Crawford has taken in his career. A victory would make him a 5-weight world champion, a feat that few have accomplished. But the price of failure could be steep. Crawford's ambition is admirable, but it also highlights the precarious nature of his situation. Should he lose badly to Canelo, his pristine record and reputation could take a significant hit. While fans and analysts respect his willingness to take on such a dangerous challenge, questions linger about whether this is the right fight for him at this stage of his career. As Oladipo pointed out, it's a crazy fight. There's almost too much weight between the two. But hey, this is boxing. The sheer size disparity is one of the most glaring obstacles Crawford must overcome. At 5 feet 8 inches with a 74-inch reach, Crawford has always been a technical marvel, but even his exceptional skills might not be enough to offset Canelo's physical advantages.
We in here working. Get back on the mat. Get back on the mat. Get back on the mat.
Getting back on the mat, standing at 5 feet 9 inches with a more muscular frame, Alvarez has proven time and again that he can overpower opponents who lack the size and strength to withstand his relentless pressure. If Crawford hopes to succeed, he will need to draw lessons not only from Mayweather's victory but also from Canelo's other notable fights. Fighters like Gennady Golovkin and Dmitry Bivol have shown that Canelo can be vulnerable when faced with intelligent boxing and disciplined game plans. Golovkin's ability to jab and control distance troubled Canelo in their first encounter, resulting in a controversial draw. Meanwhile, Bivol's unanimous decision victory over Alvarez in 2022 was a masterclass in movement, defensive responsibility, and calculated aggression. Bivol's strategy of staying disciplined and refusing to engage in unnecessary exchanges allowed him to frustrate Canelo and rack up points on the scorecards.
Terence Crawford, I see he wants to fight, he's made it clear. Do fights like that help your legacy, or do you feel like that's something that's not worth it to you?
Everything in my career, every fight make my legacy different and better, no? Terence Crawford is a great fighter, he's a good fighter, but you know, like I say,
Crawford has the tools to implement a similar approach. His ability to switch stances, adjust mid-fight, and control the tempo makes him one of the most adaptable fighters in the sport. However, executing such a strategy against Canelo is easier said than done. Alvarez has shown an incredible ability to adapt himself, often improving as the fight progresses. Crawford will need to be at his very best, both physically and mentally, to outthink and outmaneuver a fighter of Canelo's caliber. One of the intriguing aspects of this fight is the role of Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyad Season in bringing it to fruition. As one of boxing's most influential figures in recent years, Alec has been instrumental in organizing high-profile events that capture global attention. His involvement adds an extra layer of significance to the fight, as he has a vested interest in ensuring it lives up to the expectations.
People will say the most skilled boxer, period, pound for pound right now, so we're talking about skills, nothing else. It's Shakur Stevenson. A lot will say that. Guess what Shakur Stevenson looks up to, goes to every fight, trains with him, talks about him all the time.
For Crawford, the stakes are even higher. A poor performance or devastating loss could jeopardize future opportunities, especially if Al-Sheikh decides to shift his focus to other marquee matchups. This added pressure only underscores the importance of Crawford delivering a career-defining performance against Canelo.
405. 405.
Former heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder has expressed skepticism about Terence Crawford's dramatic leap from welterweight to super middleweight to face Canelo Alvarez. Speaking with ES News, Wilder cautioned Crawford about the challenges of stepping into a higher weight class against bigger, stronger opponents. 147 to 168, that's way too much, Wilder remarked. Although you can switch from southpaw to orthodox, when you're touching those guys that are heavier, it's a different feeling. It's like you're a baby. I'm not saying you can't knock anyone out or punish them, but I think it takes more time.
I don't think it's a fight Canelo really wants, if I'm honest, because I think he feels like he won't get a lot of credit beating a light middleweight. And Crawford's going to move a lot in that fight, which is not ideal for him.
He also noted the drastic difference in how punches are absorbed at higher weights, adding, moving up in weight, the way punches are absorbed is entirely different than with smaller opponents. Wilder's comments highlight the potential risks Crawford faces against the physically imposing Canelo. Well, what do you think? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates. See you in the next one.